So if you're the type that keeps up with the whole I'm offended victim culture out there, you might have heard a story recently about this gym in Birmingham, Alabama that made a what I thought was a really funny and a good play on words level of sign. The gym said, and I quote, "Are you tired of being fat and ugly? Just be ugly." That's a great sign. I don't care what anybody says. But naturally, people decided to get offended by it. You know, as they always do, the victim culture is always high when it comes to people online. I mean, I got to tell you, like, as a guy who has gained a little bit of weight in the last 6 months, like, I'm usually somewhere around 145, 146, because I'm a thin, short guy. I don't tend to have a lot of weight or a lot of muscle on me. And right now I'm hitting just over 160, which is pretty high for me personally. And I can see it. I do have a bit of a belly now. And it's the kind of thing that doesn't get me pissed off. I mean, I've been 180 pounds before, and holy fuck, like, that's a wake-up call for me. So when I see a sign like that, my instinct is not to be like, how dare they fucking take a shot at someone like me who's got a big belly, or how dare they take a shot at somebody who is overweight. No, it's like, okay, yeah, that definitely grabs my attention. It makes me think, yeah, you know what, I can go to a place like a gym and kind of work out and get myself in shape and maybe get rid of some of this excess weight I have. But naturally, the victim culture always seems to be strong and gets offended by everything extremely easily because of a lack of a sense of humor, a lack of spine, all these kind of things. And I mean, I could talk about this specific issue as it relates to real life, but that's not really what I wanted to go with this. What this sign and what this whole situation did is it kind of reminded me of just how ridiculous the whole fat shaming, fit shaming culture has become in video games. Because obviously I'm a big gamer, and all the time we are told that there is a misrepresentation of, let's just say it, of fat people in video games. Everybody wants to be like, well, no, don't use that. Say overweight or something. Like, I'm tired of the whole, I don't like that word, use this word instead. That's bullshit. Like, that is just straight up fucking language policing, and you don't actually care. If somebody used the word overweight, you would still react to them. Let's be honest here. Because you think it's a personal attack. You think everything from somebody that you don't agree with or anybody that you don't like, everything is a personal attack. But I digress. What we see in video games is a lot of, people going out there and saying, oh, that's, that person is way too skinny or way too attractive or whatever else. And at the end of the day, it's hilarious to me that people go into this route when it comes to their arguments and the things that they attack. Because, I mean, let's just get right down to the brass tacks here. Let's take Lara Croft, for example. Great example. Everybody likes the new Lara Croft now. I personally don't, because I think she's boring. The original Lara Croft actually had an edge to her. She had a personality beyond just, grunting in pain. Because, I mean, I haven't played the second game, but the first game was literally just like, oh my god, she's defenseless and grunting all the time. Oh my god, it sounds like she's fucking being raped every 5 minutes. It's fucking annoying. But Lara Croft is, as a body type, is still a great example of why she would not be fat. And I mean, if anybody remembers that controversial post that somebody made where they took a bunch of female characters from video games and quite frankly, they fattened them up. They drew them so that they looked like they had a good 50 pounds, if not more on them. And Lara Croft is a great example of how that just wouldn't make any sense. So let me get this straight. Let me put the example out. Are you telling me that a character who is running constantly, who is climbing mountains without a rope, or without like a harness to protect her, if she falls, she's fucked. She's jumping from ledges over the course of everything. Like, she's doing all these things that require you to at least be in some sort of shape. Not to mention, if she doesn't make the jump to a ledge, she has to pull herself up. So there's some upper body strength you need as well. Are you telling me that she'd be able to do that 50 pounds overweight? Are you telling me that she'd be able to do that looking like she's more than 160, 170 pounds? I don't know what her height is, so I can't really tell you like what a BMI would supposed to be for her, but I look at Lara and I'm thinking she's got to be at most like 120. That's my guess. I'm not the best guess of weight, so if I'm actually way off, I'm sorry. But try to tell me that Lara Croft could do what she does in these games at 200 pounds? Try to explain that to me. Because it wouldn't. She'd be way too slow. She would be easily caught. She would not be able to make the jumps that she makes. There's a pretty good chance she would not be able to climb the mountains that she does. You know, it's just not possible. The same goes for somebody like, say, Nathan Drake. Obviously, it's the same kind of game. I mean, you think a guy like Kratos is going to be able to do the shit that he does, you know, being 250 pounds. Actually, well, 250 pounds of the muscle is probably realistic. Let's say 350 pounds, because I kind of have to be careful when it comes to guys, because, you know, you're pretty jacked up, and if you're tall enough, fuck, you could still be 250 pounds easy. But yeah, like 350 pounds, like at least 50, even without giving the numbers in perspective, let's just say 50 pounds overweight. Let's say just having fat. You know, let's just say it. Obese, overweight, whatever the fuck you want, whatever word you want to use. The things that most video game characters do in these adventure games, these action games, these shooters and stuff like that, most of the time, like, you're not going to be able to do what you do if you're extremely overweight. That's not fat shaming, guys. That's realism. You know, it goes down to the same stuff with like the historical accuracy with things. It's like, this is just real life accuracy here. I know there's the argument that it's like, oh, it's a video game, it's meant to be fiction, but at some point, if you want immersion in a game, you kind of got to be able to believe what's going on. And I'm not going to believe a 300-pound woman is going to be able to do the stuff that Lara Croft does in the Tomb Raider games. It's just not going to happen. It's not possible. You know, it's why, like, as a wrestling fan, there's a rarity when it comes to guys like, say, Keith Lee, who is the weight that he is and can still do things like a moonsault and a shooting star press and stuff like that. Like, that's pretty rare. So at the end of the day, it comes more to me that it's not that we're fat shaming, it's that people on the other side are fit shaming, because they're saying that you can't be this certain body type. It's not right. It's not fair. It's not misrepresenting. It's not equally representing things. I'm sorry, but I'm not willing to give you that point, because the games that you are demanding that we have these obese women in just isn't possible. And I know that some people will be like, well, you know, we're not asking for like an overly like obese woman. We're asking for somebody that has a little bit of fat to them. I'm like, okay, sure. But when you think of somebody who is doing the things that Lara Croft does, the things that Bayonetta does, the things that someone like Jill Valentine does, what Jade Beyond Good and Evil does, you really think that she's going to have a lot of fat on her? With the amount of running that they do alone, there's a pretty good chance they're going to be pretty good in shape. It's not realistic to say that they could be 50 pounds overweight. It's not viable. It's such a rarity. Now, on the flip side, because I'm done arguing against it. In the case of create-a character games, I think you need to leave the option open for a slider that does make people either extra skinny or extra fat. Because the idea of a create-a character option in games is, realistically speaking, to give players a chance to put themselves into the game. Obviously, I want to see things like other like color modifiers too, so I can just have like this ridiculous blue man walking around. But the idea of most create-a character options is that it, like I said, it's meant to be so that you can put yourself in the game and experience it from your own personal lens. You know, obviously, on the flip side, it gives you a chance also to make the perfect character, which is what I generally try to do. But, you know, what the create-a character option does, it's meant to be for everybody. It's meant to be for every possible combination of characteristics, from gender, from race, from body weight, from body size, from even, like, the most tiny things, like, you know, obviously, if you go to Saints Row, you get to the silly stuff like how big your ass is, how big your boobs are, if it's a woman, how big your package is, if you're a guy, like stuff like that. And I think that's funny too. I like that. I like having the option. It gives somebody the chance to do whatever they want. They can be realistic or they can be so over the top and stupid that it's funny. I like having that option. But in a game where the character is designed on their own, there's no create-a character. It is a character designed specifically for the role and the game that is being implemented in. I'm sorry, but you get no voice in that. It's creative freedom. In the same way that I said about the Battlefield video earlier, the second you say that that's your vision for the game, I cannot fight you on it. I can disagree with it, but I cannot call you out and say you are an asshole for doing that. You're not representing me properly. Like, if I go out and say that, oh, how dare you make, I guess Tomb Raider, but I know Uncharted already exists. But let's just say Uncharted didn't exist and it was just Tomb Raider that we had. I would not be able to say without being an absolute fucking hypocrite that the makers of Tomb Raider are a bunch of sexist assholes for not wanting to put a man in the game as a lead role. It's creative freedom, folks. They're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. You can disagree, but you cannot say that, you cannot insult them over it. You cannot sit there and say that their game should not exist because of it. Games can be whatever the fuck people want them. The difference is you just don't buy. It's your choice to buy what you want to buy. If you want to buy all these LGBT-friendly games, all these games that are friendly to you, then go ahead and fucking do it, and then stay out of the games that aren't for you. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. There are a lot of games out there that I have no interest in playing, and you know what I do? I don't bitch about them. I just sit here and be like, okay, not my problem then. I'm just not going to buy it. The only reason that I talk about Battlefield 5, a game that I had no interest in the first place, was because of that conversation that was being had. Otherwise, I just would have been like, meh, whatever, their choice. I'm not in. I'm not going to buy it. That's how it is. It just comes back to the things with gaming. When it comes to anime, when it comes to any sort of any piece of entertainment, it's your choice to consume it or not. And if something like a video game fat shames you, or you perceive it to be fat shaming, don't sit there and bitch about it like a petulant child. Don't sit there and say, oh my God, I want more, I want more, I want games for me. No. Don't buy the things that you don't like. When something comes out that you are 100% behind, you put your money towards that and you try to get other people to buy that too, so that that vision comes through. Because the problem with so many consumers is that they are not willing to take the initiative and make the games they want to exist, and they go out of their way to try and slander games that they don't want to exist, when the easiest way to get rid of attention on that game is to not give it your attention. And you'll notice that, for example, with someone like Anita Sarkeesian. It's a great example to finish with here in this video. Take a look at her views now. You notice how much of a drop there is? Her crowdfunding is nowhere near what it is. She's still getting more money than I think she deserves, but she's not making nearly as much money in donations. Her views are going down the fucking toilet. You know why that is? Because no one's talking about her anymore. The second that you stop bringing people up, they don't hear about them. You don't hear about Anita very much anymore. You don't hear about Zoe Quinn anymore. People are staying out of the news because no one's giving them the light of day anymore. If you really think that a game like Senran Kagura, for example, should not exist because it's nothing but busty women who are over-the-top sexualized, if you don't like it, then don't buy it and don't even speak about it. Say Dead or Alive Extreme 3 because of the controversy that came out with that. That game probably sold a lot more copies in the West than it ever had any business of, because people decided to import that game because they were so fed up with people bitching about it and they got their attention. I was willing to buy that game if the price was not so stupid for importing that game from Japan. Because what I wanted to do was support the things that I think need to exist. And by the people who were 100% against it and talking about it endlessly, you know what they did? They brought more attention on it than it ever needed to be. This goes for so many other cases of games. I can't name that many off the top of my head because, I've got way too many things running through my head. I've got another video that I'm trying to record in the next 10 minutes before I got to go to work, so I'm trying to rush it through. But at the end of the day, guys, everything comes from you in terms of voting with your wallet, with voting with your clicks, with your attention. If you don't want something to exist because you don't like it, don't talk about it. It's that simple. If a game is truly fat shaming, don't talk about it. Because the second you talk about it over and over again, the people who already don't like you because of the way you've been in the last 5 years, they're just going to want to buy the game. Plain and simple.